Hello and welcome to this new episode of Open Book Entrepreneur. Today we have Ernest here with us. He is involved in real estate and also runs his own podcast and surrounded by seven, eight figure people and also billionaires. Ernest, please introduce yourself and your businesses to our audience.
Fine. Tony, I appreciate it. Thanks for having me on. And yeah, indeed, it's kind of started out as just a small, just solopreneur kind of thing, doing some fix and flips on the side and doing some house hacking, and eventually led me into becoming a licensed general contractor and a realtor. Started my own brokerage, being a team leader. And then as far as with all the fix and flips. Gotten into doing coaching, and then I have kind of two things we coach on. Is one is kind of more on the personal side. We do one is called Amaze Yourself, and the other one is more on the business side, where we get into real estate flipping, coaching, just everything kind of around real estate, how to evaluate properties, do estimates. So kind of a mixture of things.
Great stuff. Yeah, obviously, definitely, as you said, mixture of things. So, how did you end up like doing real estate and then going into coaching? What's the relation there?
It was just kind of out of college. I got into doing drafting design engineering in college. And then I just didn't want to sit in front of the computer 8, 10 hours a day. And even though it was great to learn the concept and understand what went into doing a build and design, it made me, it kind of got me over the threshold of just the unknown. Like when I got into doing these flips, like I knew the floor joists were 2x10s, and I knew the floorboards were this, and I knew what walls were. I knew, like I knew all the components. So I was desensitized to how bad a house looked, right? And like I could see through the clutter, and I could see what the end result would be, and opening up walls and all that. So that was kind of the initial side of things. I got into it just as a fun hobby. If I can buy a house, live in it, fix it up while I'm living in it, and turn around and sell it a year or 2 years later, then I would kind of skirt the capital gains taxes and all that stuff. And it was good because at that time I was working a W-2 job, and it just allowed to have some extra income, as well as just kind of taking advantage of some of the situations of houses and helping people.
Exactly. Yeah. And then, obviously, what's your goal for your business for the next 12 months?
I'm kind of in some people call it a midlife crisis. I just call it a pivot. So a lot of the last couple of years, I've gotten myself into much larger rooms. Knowing that the rooms I was in here locally in my market in the Charlotte area, um, not that it was really restrictive, but I'm in rooms here with seven-figure entrepreneurs, but the rooms I'm getting into now are seven, eight, nine figure billionaire figures, where I've been able to have the opportunity to go spend a couple, 2, 3 days at a billionaire's house and down in Florida. And so it's just kind of when you having those personal one-on-one times with people that are high value, high elevated, and you get to learn from them. I mean, it's I learned very quickly that, being a general contractor is not a sexy business. It's you're creating another job. And because, and even with the realtor, is like at the back end, you have what they call the M&A, the mergers and acquisitions. And so it's like, how do you want to exit your business? And I couldn't really answer that because my businesses were very solopreneur. And so it took some time to go through and reorganize, all those things, and really to make it to where I could potentially exit those later, instead of just having to shut them down, kind of deal. So yeah, the last couple of years has just been really kind of a, hey, how can I take this knowledge that I've gained over the years? How can I put it out to my clients, and be able to help them through their challenges and tribulations and stuff, and be able to do it in the different sense where I could do it as a group. I could do it on one-on-one. I can do it where I have a tangible product like the AY, where I can potentially have other coaches come in and teach as well in the basic brand. So a lot of those is really where the drive is for the next for this year and beyond.
Totally. And something very interesting that you mentioned there when you talked about speaking to a billionaire, he asked you how you can actually exit the business. And I think this is a challenge for most of the solopreneurs or small businesses. They're sort of built around the person, around the
Mhm.
founder or owner. And so what's your suggestion or advice or experience that you learned from that, and like that you can share with our audience?
You need to start. I guess the biggest thing is, planning for that exit. And what does that look like? So when you look at private equity firms today, they're very heavy in like the trade space. So meaning like mechanical, electrical, plumbing, these remediation companies. So anything that has a couple sources of income, meaning one that you have contractual stuff like HVAC companies would have it with commercial properties or even with residential. So you'll have the contractual stuff, and then you'll have the one-off. So you have that kind of guaranteed money coming in, as well as the one-off constructions or the one-off clients. So when you have those, you have two different sides of it. So when you're looking at a higher multiple, and when you're looking at private equity firms, they'll go, if you have like a 4 million or $5 million EBITDA, and then you turn that around, well, in the private equity space, well, they can pay 5 to 7 times the multiple. So you're talking 25 to $35 million in an exit. But you have to be able to have your business EBITDA in base. You have to understand, where all the numbers are, and be able to show the full true picture to someone that you're interested in. Now, the other side would be is to find other people that are in the same industry as you and that you can acquire additional ones. So you take your $4 or $5 million EBITDA and you compound it with another company that's got another million or 2 or 3 million EBITDA. Then now you got 8 or 9 or 10 million in EBITDA, and now you just at a much, much higher multiple on the exit. So you don't have to always be the one that's driving the horse and carriage is you're the one that you can merge in and find someone that's eager and hungrier that will take that development to the next level, which is kind of where we start positioning ourselves at. So
Yeah, fantastic. I mean, thank you for sharing that example, because most of the people, most of the small businesses, they're thinking, oh, how to make 1 million, 2 million, 5 million, and then it's like, wow, we succeeded, and we get into a lot of different other issues. Yeah, but
yeah,
then you speak to a billionaire, and he's thinking like this, like, oh, you just add this few together, and that's it. You solve
it's
some.
Yeah, I mean, they're so much like right brain thinking, and
Mhm.
then where a lot of us are left brain thinking, and really there's a mix. But when they're talking the right brain, it's very. I mean, they're looking at it from a high level down, working it backwards, understanding the process, understanding where they want to go and exit, and then kind of a timeline along with it. And so they compound the time. I mean, they're like, okay, this might take me 5 years, but I'm really going to push forward and do it in 3. And so it's like that's kind of the amaze yourself stuff is people just kind of like, I'll just, I'll get to it, I'll get to it. Life happens and then, 5, 8 years down the road, they're like, hey, we did a good business, we made multi-millions of dollars. But now it's time to retire, and it's like, uh, you know, don't have anything. Like so it's hard.
Yeah, yeah, absolutely. I agree. And so, Amaze Yourself. Can you tell us a little bit more about that?
So amaze yourself where that kind of came in at. I kind of lived the lifestyle before. So when I was much younger, I got into water skiing and kneeboarding and snowboarding and got into skydiving when I was like in my early 20s. Didn't tell my parents, but um, and I went and did it a couple times. And so I was always challenging myself because I always knew in my mind that when it came time to have a family, like I wanted to be able to introduce my children to a lot of different things. I may not be the best at it, but I wanted to have enough knowledge in it that I can introduce them into it and to be able to get them a coach if they find that they're attracted to it. And so I kind of live this amaze yourself line mindset. And really what it is that every week I challenge myself to do something that I was scared to do or that I've been wanting to do, I've been procrastinating on. And so in 2009, 10, I went to I lived in a college area. A professor was coming in that was speaking on doing art design and everything. And so his presentation was he drew an A period, Y period on the whiteboard. And he went through like two-thirds of his presentation and never told you what the AY stood for. And then he finally he's like, "Have you been wondering what this means?" And everybody's like, "Well, yeah, yeah, what is it?" And it was like, amaze yourself. And then he goes into the principle of like, just do one thing a week that you're scared to do or that you've been wanting to do and then you just procrastinated on. Like, go out and actually do it. Take the action, take the steps, and just do it. And you once you end up doing it for the 1 week and then 2 weeks and then 3 weeks, like it's a personal grading card. Did you do it or did you not do it? I mean, it's that simple. And so it's part of builds your integrity that you're just doing things behind the scene to make yourself better. And you're just doing this, you're building this into your lifestyle.
Great stuff. Thank you so much for that. And then, if someone wants to actually learn more about you, connect to you, find out more about you, I know also you have a podcast as well. How they can do that?
Easiest is Ernest Smith Official, and that's through all the social medias, Facebook, Instagram, TikTok, all those, YouTube. But I do have a podcast. It's called Ernest Goes to Network Podcast. And it's really just as it sounds. It's like, how do your network equals your net worth, right? Is what you will always hear. And so, and I have a great ability to be able to just to talk to people. And it's fun just to be able to connect. And because you never know where those relationships are going to go. And especially over the last couple of years, those relationships for me have just crazy. Like, I mean, I've had the opportunity to spend time with like Mario Lopez and Kevin Costner and Joe Foster with Reebok and, Katino Mobley with, from the 76ers, some of these iconic people from our past that we just always had. And it's kind of funny. As I look over my bookcase and I had this here. I'll show you.
Mhm.
So I had this piece
Mhm.
which we all know what it is, right? So this was actually the top of a Reebok's box of shoes back in the, or mid late 80s.
Mhm.
I did an art class. Come full circle, this is the gentleman that started this with his brother. And it was kind of a family business. The grandfather ended up starting the shoe business, and then years later they came up with a Reebok concept. And then I was able to have him as one of my guests on my podcast. And so it's just it's kind of funny, like we always talk about, it's a full circle moment. Like I've had several of those in this last couple of years where the billionaire that I got to go spend time with at his house bought this house and then I spent time there and I'm walking to this house and I'm like, man, I'm having like this deja vu moment. Like I've been here before. I've never been to Melbourne, Florida. I've never been to this house. And I couldn't really understand why, but then I realized that this house was the season 7 house that Vanilla Ice flipped on the Vanilla Ice project. And so I was like inside this house in all these rooms and all this stuff and it was just like so surreal because we're talking probably about a 10-year difference by the time I watched this show to this in person. So yeah, just you got to amaze yourself, man. You got to get out. You got to challenge yourself. You got to put yourself into different rooms and it's going to be uncomfortable because you're going to be like, I don't belong here. No, you do belong there. It's just, you got to figure out the value and where you can really connect in. So
Totally. Excellent. Thank you so much for being a guest today. Thank you for sharing your knowledge and your story. Thank you all for watching, listening. If you like this episode, drop us a like, subscribe, and also if you have any questions for Ernest and me, you can ask them in the comments. And see you all in the next episode. All the best and bye bye.
yes.